And for me, I don't mix business with pleasure. So I've had to walk away. Is it painful? Yes, it is.
It must be.
Do I get angry? Yes, I do. Because I've gone through a lot. I've gone through depression, been in a wellness clinic. I was almost not even fired, unfairly suspended. I mean, it was, when I say unfairly, it was really unfairly. You know, I've had things said about me that were untrue.
Right, let's go. Welcome to another edition of Mindset Profits, and I'm super excited doing this episode today because we're just out here talking to awesome people doing awesome things. Today we have a female powerhouse who has been a CEO in 2 public entities and recognized by the president. I saw this in her profile. I got super curious about your journey, how you got there, the lessons. So I know this is going to feel like mentorship for me, and I know it will for you as well. I have Mrs. Tumi here. Tumi, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm quite excited.
You are an author. I'm curious, how do you introduce yourself?
Well, how do I introduce myself? I'm Tumi Lebaka because that's who I really am. But I'm a global speaker. I'm an author. I'm a coach. I'm a business leader. I'm a mother. And I'm a daughter.
That's fairly simple. It's not what I saw in your bio. Your bio is scary. You had me looking at mine like, dude, you're not working in life. But thank you and welcome. It's going to be good to have you here. Now, when I look at the recognitions, the organizations in Africa that you've worked with, organizations locally that you've worked with, how would you describe your journey from high school to top CEO?
Ooh,
as a young woman?
It's really been a journey. I grew up in a family that valued education so much. So my parents put an emphasis on education. I grew up in Qwaqwa, which is in the Eastern Free State, but my high school was in KZN because that is the investment that my parents put.
They didn't want you to study in Qwaqwa. They pushed you to KZN.
To KZN because in and around that time, this is where the best education was. And at that time, my parents had businesses. It was okay. We could afford it. But immediately after high school, the economy in Qwaqwa changed because there was a transition into it moving from a homeland, right, into the democratic South Africa, and businesses crashed. This is now, Coach, at a point where I am supposed to go to university. I did a year. And I had to give my siblings chance to finish school. In that period, I was home. I was unemployed for 5 years. And this is at the time my parents were rebuilding themselves. And that was, I must say, one of my lowest periods. But it was also one of the turning points in my life. Because it's at that time that I learned that you just don't sit back. You have got to have a good vision and a clear vision of where you want to go. And your vision is not a vision because of your current surroundings, right?
I feel like saying amen.
And I had a vision board at the age of 19, 20. We moved from a beautiful house, started staying in a shack. And it was a 2-room shack. And you know how shacks are. When it gets cold, it's very cold. And when you wake up in the morning, what greets you is the little droplet. So I had I used to have my vision board like right there as to what I wanted to do, and that would be a reminder of where I was going, not the dusty streets, not the poverty that was surrounding me. And the opportunity that existed for me at that particular time was being an ABET teacher, teaching all people literacy. And from the best schools, here I am in Mkuku, in an informal settlement, having to restart. But it is taking that step that allowed me to start growing. This is where opportunities started opening for me. I then became a facilitator working with the youth. I took my first job as an administrator at SEPS. SEPS is police, and I started growing from there.
Before you take those jobs and before you become a facilitator, at the moment that you're living in the Mkuku, how was it feeling? What was your mindset like there?
Sure, I must be honest to say that there was a time where I feel that the surroundings got to me, where I felt like this is it for me, you know. But there was something inside of me, a dream that burned to say, this cannot be it for you, you know. Your life is meant to be bigger than that. And that is the dream that never left me. It is what kept me going. I believe that there is a hunger that needs to be there as a human being with a purpose and a vision that allows you to start getting up, start looking beyond, start finding purpose in little things. You know, the Bible says, do not despise the days of the small beginnings. That's where I started.
Wow. If I want to help two people, someone who his life has fallen apart and they are in the Mkuku or on their way towards the Mkuku and they don't have the hunger. Have you met those? That don't have that hunger that says wake up and fight. They instead have hopelessness.
Well, I have met a number of people who may be hopeless. And it's hopeless because their inner eyes are shut. It's because what they hear is doom. And the way to ignite that is to show them the possibilities. Because once you start seeing that it's possible for me, I start opening up. These are your internal eyes that see beyond what is there today. You start dreaming. And it's important to be able to see what is just beyond what it is today. And it's important also to find the little small opportunities. For me, it was teaching gogos, libomkulus, how to read and write. Now, this is a girl who is coming from a Model C. Great dreams. Find himself in Mkuku. He never stayed in Mkuku before. Dusty. And my role was to teach now umkulus and gogos how to read and how to write. And it's when I interacted with them and them getting the joy of writing and you're like, my goodness, I'm bringing something. And little did I know that from that point, I'd be discovered.
Wow.
And there's a saying, and I talk about it in the book. It says, exposure creates demand to those who see it, who see your value. So if you expose your gift, those who see it will see it as value. Value starts opening up opportunities for you.
For you though, you already had the fire within you. You didn't need anyone. Like, you were not exposed to someone who gave you some encouragement and built your confidence and faith, or you just always had the hunger by yourself and you just decided to fight.
Well, faith played an important role.
Mm-hmm.
Faith played an important role when I was transitioning, and I'll call it as one of the transition point. I was now at a place where, like I've said, what I knew was no longer in existence. The big houses, the luxurious cars, the great holidays were not there. What my new reality was dusty streets. And at that time, my parents had a small vegetable business that was starting to bloom. But my mind said, this is where you're at. This is your circumstance. And it's when I started tapping into my faith. I think it's at that time where my faith life and my relationship with God started growing. That I started, when the spark came back to me, when I started saying, my life is better than what I see in front of me. And I believe it's important to believe in yourself. It's important to believe in a power higher than yourself. And for me, it was God at that time. And that was how I managed to come out.
You know what I enjoy listening to you with this is this big challenge, it pushed you towards God. But I always look and wonder why it does that for some people and does the complete opposite for others. They find themselves in a challenge, they lose the house, lose the car, and they decide, you know what, me and God, goodbye. I'm done. What do you think is the difference?
Well, possibly at times we become so shut and we become so angry at life that we don't even start seeing the little opportunity that comes. Because possibly at that time you've built a wall. And it could be a wall of anger. It could be a wall of unforgiveness. It could be a wall of resentment.
True.
It could be a wall of self-doubt. And once that wall is there, you can't see what's on the other side. This is why it's important to be able to free yourself, release what the past may want to hold. You know, be it unforgiveness, be it businesses that have failed, be it sabotage that people find very often in the workplace, be it a lover leaving you, be it something that has done you wrong. You need to come to a place where you say, my heart is not going to harbor negativity, is not going to harbor resentment, and come to a place within yourself where you say, I'm releasing all of this. Because getting to a place of releasing that brings you to a place of freedom. Coming to a place of freedom starts opening other avenues that you may not have seen before. You know, I always hear that hurt people hurt others, healthy people heal. And it's the same principle.
All right. I'm curious about one last thing about that period. Did your neighbors know where you were coming from? That our new neighbors next to Mkuku are coming from this amazing mansion and now they are with us.
Wow.
Did they know, and were they like people saying, yeah, look at you?
No. Actually, it was a brand new informal settlement. I remember. You know, there were few houses, and I believe people learned along the way. But at that time, there were just a few, shacks in the community. But people are able to see because of how you handle yourself.
Your English is like a dead giveaway. Good to know this one.
Your posture gives it away. So yeah.
So there was no discouragement coming from the other side.
And I thank God for that, because I don't know how I would have handled the pressure at that time. So that was what I call a place of isolation or separation that allows you to find yourself, regroup.
That's good. Funny enough, we have a lot in common in that, because I also lost house, car, everything, until I was not in Mkuku but in an RTP house, and I couldn't even afford like the full one, so I was sharing. And I always tell people that the people that were my neighbors and my friends, I didn't get the hate as well. I didn't tell them how I'd come to be there, right? But they were the most amazing and most encouraging people I could have just asked to live with. So I get what you mean. I just was wondering if there were people that laughed at you to the point of discouraging you and just breaking your spirit, because they can be there.
Well, people who are always criticizing will always be there. And at some point you need to be able to have a thick skin to deal with the haters, because haters are there. Whether you're up there, down there, you can't escape it. And for me, it's, yes, the criticism will come. Maybe it will scar you a bit, but it's important just to have a place where you regroup. And fortunately for me, at that young age, I did not experience that. It's in my journey up where I started developing and having this thick skin.
All right, so you get past this phase, you teach Ogogo, you become a facilitator, you go and work for the police. What came next?
I go work for the police. I get in South African corporate. I do a lot of work in strategy, training, development. I go work for one of the CETAs, the education training authorities. And I go up the ladder, and because of my hunger, I think I had a great performing. And one of my first roles was at the age of 32, was an executive role, the youngest in that organization, one of two females, and I ended up alone because the other lady left. And I found myself as the only female among the males, and most of them elderly. And in my mind, I'm like, these guys should groom me, I'm the youngest, here's the future. And I get a wake-up call when I realize, no, it's not. Because at that particular point, I knew what I want. I'm headstrong. I push for what I want. And possibly it comes with a level of intimidation. And
what do you mean?
Well, I believe that people in and around me at that particular point got intimidated. And I went through a lot also in that period where I sort of felt that I was sort of isolated.
Okay.
As a female manager, because, males would always have this boys club. When you get into the office, decisions have been made.
Conversations change. So you become like somebody who's supporting. And it's only up until you learn the game. And those years for me were refining. I had gone through so much as a female leader, young leader, in the journey of learning, in the journey of all the aggression that I got on the way up.
And fast forward, I had served for quite some time in an executive role, and I had to make a presentation to the board. And when I stepped into the boardroom, I was doing me like I do me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I stepped out at that particular point, the board then, I didn't know the board was looking for a replacement CEO. And they like, we've been struggling and here is the right person. That was not in
Whoa.
my mind, right? At that particular point. So they asked me to act, interim acting. That was not in my mind at that particular point. But one thing that I can tell you is somebody's always watching. The work that you put in with focus, with intentionality, your work ethic,
Excellence.
somebody is always watching. What you put out, you may think people are not looking, but people are looking. And that is how I got a chance to act as a CEO at that particular point for the seat that I was working with. And I got appointed to the CEO role, I think after 9 months or so. And it has been a journey up until now. And a beautiful journey of growth, a journey of evolving, a journey of self-discovery, but also a journey of purpose.
So when you say you had to be headstrong and assertive, what do you think brought that out? Was it the aggression of the environment?
It was the environment, but it's also as a result of the number of corporate bullying that you find in the workplace. It's because of the number of toxic environments that we find ourselves in. And as a leader, this forces you to find your own identity. Because if you don't have your own identity, you easily get lost. It forces you to know and evaluate and reevaluate your values. Because if you do not know, or if your values sway left to right, it's a problem as a leader. So for me, I had to be in a place where I had to get to my identity, know how to deal with the workplace dynamics, whether it's sabotage that's coming through,
You faced
whether
that.
whether it's isolation that comes through, whether it's strategies that try to get you out of the organization. So all of these force you to know who you are, know your stand, know what you believe in, and know what contribution you want to make in the world.
I feel like you're answering my next question, but I'll ask it anyway. What have you learned about working with men as a woman, especially a woman that's their boss?
I've had amazing experiences and not so amazing experiences, especially because South Africa is very tribalistic. And I really found that men that were too traditional found it too hard to submit. And we're not saying, but submit under a female leadership. So instead of submitting, I would find that at that early on, it was like they were almost going against what I wanted to say or do. And I had to come to a point where you put your foot down, right? So that is one set of experience that I've had. But I've also had men who were very supportive, who are like, what do you want to achieve? And how do we help you?
And they bought into your vision.
Yes. And how do we make this a reality? So again, it's not, I can't even generalize it
I
as,
get you.
as men, because as much as I've suffered harm, I've also had joy. So in the book, I actually talk about how working with men is important to be able to elevate, because there are certain places, even today, as women, it's not easy to penetrate the glass ceiling. And some of them issues is because of gender bias. You know, we know of a study that was done by Harvard, an example given to say this is a character of a male. Well, they were not told if it's a male or female, but
Yeah.
it was said this is the character of the individual. They headstrong, they driving, you know, the organization, they doing everything. And here's another one, more laissez-faire, relaxed. And they said, which one here? It's a man, a woman. And a lot of people resonated being headstrong, being focused, being driven with a
man.
male. And you still find that the gender bias that still exists, and I'm doing my PhD on this, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Society still believes in male leadership better than female. And we need to bring a balance, because I believe we have a number of phenomenal women leaders globally. And once we start changing the mindset, only then will scales begin to balance. Because what you see in corporate, as you go higher and higher, there's lesser females. I still find myself sitting in boards where there is less female.
I have two questions for you on that. One, I think I warned you about. It's not marriage. It is this. When we talk as gents, I was talking to the gents, and they're saying, looking at your profile, if they were to say, let me date this woman and pay lobola, they'd probably kill me. So I shouldn't even just try, because listening to you, your lobola would just be up there. Do you think that level of success creates problems for women when it comes to dating?
Well, I believe it should not be. It shouldn't be a problem if a man knows who they are and know what they offer and what value they bring into your life. Because for me, relationship is more like getting a purpose partner, right? And a purpose partner is somebody who is able to fit into your bigger vision of life. Now, not everybody is your purpose partner.
True.
And not everybody who comes your way will be able to match your journey and your purpose. And possibly at times we try mistake Boma Chansai, who are definitely not your purpose partner, right?
Yeah.
But I believe, and I strongly believe in this, I believe that as we journey as women along our path, if you desire a relationship, you are likely to meet the right person if you make the right choices.
So it's not about how much you're making.
It can't be about money. You know why? Because you see, it's not the money when I'm sick that comes saying, honey, here's tea. It's not the money when we're going through hardship that says, babe, let's kneel down and pray. It's not the money that comforts. It's the character of the person in your life. And the sooner we learn to say all the other frills are add-ons, but it is being with the right person. A person when you with, it feels like home. You feel safe. You feel secure. You don't have to put a mask. That
I kind
is
of
the
get
right
you. I kind of get you.
mix.
The question that I keep having as you're talking still is, when you are CEO, aren't there expectations among your friends over the kind of men you should be dating? And you could date, the target market becomes thinner of men that fit that category, because at some point you have to say, my friends, this is who I'm dating. Doesn't it get limited? Because I know I might be asking, it sounds like I'm joking, but a lot of women are battling with that. The fact that maybe I'm becoming too successful too fast, this is going to be a problem for me.
Well, it does become true in a sense that it's important who you choose.
Yeah.
And yes, when you do get up, possibly there is a shrinkage. Possibly there is a shrinkage. But you see, you're forcing me into that. And I'm a person who believes in abundance, right? And my abundance thinking says, if I'm able to get at this particular level, God has raised a person for me at this particular level who will be able to match my level of thinking, my level of vision, my level of drive. You see, so what you're trying to get me at
you're answering
true.
And really well, because this is going to help someone. Someone doesn't have that mindset, that abundance mindset, that look, there's someone who's going to be able to cope with wherever I am in my journey, right? So you're helping someone.
I believe so.
I didn't want to box you in any corner. I just wanted to find out, because the gents mentioned the lobola thing, to say, yo, the lobola here, this one would be 1 million. So I said, return on investment, gents. If it's 1 million and she brings 1 million, so it's the same.
You know, but I believe it's important to meet your equal.
Yeah.
Because it makes things so much easier in various areas of life. But I wouldn't want to measure that in terms of rands and cents, because there are other things that in a relationship are so important that
Like
you
you
can't
mentioned.
even quantify in terms of rands and cents. But it's also about, do we at least like the same things? Do we share the same standard of living? Do we want the same things for the kids? You know,
do we add value to each other?
Do we add value to each other? Am I able to add value to you as my partner? Because I believe that if my partner comes, I must add value to them. They come to my life and remain the same, then I'm not adding value to them. And I particularly believe in purpose partner, because not everybody is your purpose partner, like I said, but your purpose partner is a person that you join together to fulfill a particular mandate. They are able to fill your cup. You are able to fill their cup. It's vice versa. So the other question could be, am I able to fill your cup as my equal?
I get you.
Because that's what creates balance.
All right. The other question that made me smile. You are an attractive woman. You know this, right? So
Okay.
I'm trying to frame my question correctly. As a CEO, because many women, I've had clients that are facing this, right? And many people that look at the podcast will know what I mean. As a CEO, as a manager, as a woman leader, how are you dealing with males that are under you making advances? Did you face that? To say,
Well,
this one, yeah, boss, but
you find it not in the workplace, I've never experienced it with my juniors.
Is it?
I'm told that maybe I'm a bit too reserved. Maybe
There's a
give-
principle there. Teach
Yeah.
someone how do they become whatever it is that created the wall so that they were not in trouble. What were you doing?
So I was saying to a group of women that as a woman, right, you need to be able to have boundaries. Boundaries are important, particularly in a working environment. Boundaries are important in a sense that you don't want to find yourself in a place of compromise. When you know that it's in a work environment, this is my boss, and there's this thing, and you don't want this thing to grow, don't be in the room alone with that person. Personally, what I do, I
Yeah.
always go along with my PA, and my PA is a male, a lovely gentleman.
Yeah, that kind of tones things down.
So it helped. So instead of going in certain meetings alone, because you do see danger, there's nothing like it just happened. No,
Yeah.
you do. So you need to be able to say, what are my boundaries? What invitations am I willing to take? What invitations am I not willing to take? Come to my house for a glass of wine? Obviously, no. I can't do that because it's going to blur the
boundaries.
lines. Yes, and even the boundaries. So it's really being able to assess the environment, but also know your values. Because your values should be at a point where they go before you. Have I found myself in situations where I've gotten into tricky? Yes, I have. Right? But I always find a way out. And hence I'm saying, if I start seeing there's a spark and I get out, I leave.
Spark, you mean if you see that you like this person as well, or you mean
No, but you
this
can
person
say
is
yes,
not talking business anymore?
It's not talking business anymore, and they are blurring the lines. You need to know to say, oh, this has been a great meeting. I've got to go now. and you get your bag and you leave because you don't want to cross that boundary. So it's important to be able to know what the boundary is. What are you willing to do? What are you not willing to do? Are you willing to live with this after this? And I always say, if this has got to be out in media, will I be able to live with it if it will be a headline? So it's some of the things you need to consider, particularly as a female leader, but as in anything that
What
you
your
get
values are.
involved in. Will I be happy if this is a headline tomorrow? And if
Right.
not, know your cue.
Is this real, or it's a myth that for many women they will lose more opportunities shunning away those situations, like running away from men making advances and promising there's a tender if you come, there's this job, there's this contract if you come? Is it a myth? Because fortunately for you, you were not the one looking for the opportunities to face this, but you've seen people coming to the organizations that you worked for looking for opportunities. Is this a real thing?
You know, the other side of me, I'm an entrepreneur, and it is real. When you see an opportunity and you're like, I want to go for it, and you get down, you sit, it's done. You are sure, get towards it, but I'm done. And then it comes, and you are now faced with this opportunity and this much that I'm likely to make, and this. And what will make me sleep better at night? And for me, I don't mix business with pleasure. So I've had to walk away. Is it painful? Yes, it is.
It must be.
Do I get angry? Yes, I do. But it's what happens. It's there. And this is why in certain areas of business, it's important that some of my partners are males. So because they don't deal with that I deal with. They meet at an equal footing. But at times as women, it's like equal footing mara. You know, so we need to be able to apply different strategies for different environments. And for me, when I walked away from a great opportunity, I knew that I needed to come up with a new strategy. And it was to say, in future, I need to have partners that can go where I'm unable to go. That when things get to a certain level, I can send them because it's easier for them. It makes business sense for all of us. Where if I go alone, the entire deal...
The narrative will change.
Exactly.
That's what you mean by I had to learn how to play the game.
You've got to know how to play the game. You need to have a strategy for everything in life.
When you are looking at women as a leader, I'm sure you've been in interviews where you're interviewing women that are coming to look for a job or a promotion. Do you think women don't do themselves a favor when it comes to negotiating for a position or for a higher pay?
Well, some do great. There's a certain percentage, but it's a small percentage, who are able to say, this is what I want and this is what I'm going for. But you still find that women still get a bit shy in negotiating their pay. And it's because of possibly the imposter syndrome. You know, imposter syndrome, you find it with both males and females, but research has shown it's more prevalent with females. And at times, they don't go right for to say, this is who I am, this is what I bring to the table, this is what I can do for your business, and this is what I'm worth.
Oh, that is a beautiful framework. Is it in the book?
It is in the book. Because when you go negotiate, I want to see, what are you bringing in my business? What are you bringing into the partnership? And if the value of what is you bringing is worth it, I will take a chance. Because remember, business wants to grow. So if you're in sales and you're like, give me this much, I can promise you 10% or 15% increase, and this is how I'm going to do it. Give me 2 months to prove it. The third month, give me my 20%. Done.
As we wrap up, let's get into Thrive. This is the book, Thrive. Tell us about the book. Why did you write the book? What can people expect when they get it? And where can they get it, by the way?
You know, Thrive is a personal book. It took me a while to publish it because it was, do I want to put myself out there? But for me, writing the book was understanding that I'm serving a larger purpose than just myself. I'm helping that young girl who wants to be a CEO one day. I'm helping that woman who's in the workplace who's looking to elevate. I'm helping that young woman who just finished or graduated and wants to enter the workplace. And for me was, if they can take what I've learned, they don't have to start at the same level I started. They have an advantage of wisdom. But more importantly, Thrive it talks about 5 things. It's about the power, the T, to transform yourself. It's about the power to get out of hopeless situations. We spoke about being hopeless. It's about being resilient when things get hard and difficult, being resilient enough. V is about victory, celebrating the big wins. You know, you may get a business that's worth 200,000, you may get a business that's worth 2 million, but both are wins. How do you celebrate that? And the E talks about empowerment, that as you elevate, as you get bigger and better, empower another person. Somebody has poured into you, let's pour into another and cause a thrive revolution.
Wow. The empowerment, you made me think of something. Someone was saying women have got a PhD. You know, have you heard of it? Pull head down syndrome. That. Can you speak to that? Maybe you can encourage someone, because when I was looking at the E, I actually thought, listening to you and listening to your story, the E was for excellence, because it seems like that's how you roll. But empowerment, can you speak to that? Those that seem to have a bias towards just getting up at the expense of other women, or at the expense of others in general.
Personally, I don't believe getting up at the expense of others will you'll be able to sustain yourself. This is my personal opinion. Pull-it down syndrome will be there for both men and women. It's something that will always be there. And for me, it's being able to overcome the challenges in going up, and also being able to find your tribe that will support you as you elevate. Because, you know, we talk about going up, but when you go up, you don't go up alone. There's somebody who's pushed you up, somebody who pushes you from one level to the next. And that I call your tribe. Be able to recognize who your tribe is amidst the challenges. Because I've gone through a lot. I've gone through depression, been in a wellness clinic. I was almost not even fired, unfairly suspended. I mean, it was, when I say unfairly, it was really unfairly. You know, I've had things said about me that were untrue. I've had opportunities taken because of perception. But you need to have your tribe. And this is now the pull head downs. And you need to find the right people who contribute, who build you up. And I am an advocate of getting mentors, getting coaches for yourself. Because, you know, there is a level that you can't elevate just by yourself. There is a certain place where your eyes get a bit blurry. And somebody's able to say, hey, let me move. What working in Bible, the speck in your eye.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's coaching. Coaching helps you go higher and better. So I believe in coaches. I invest in them myself. And I believe that if people want to grow in whichever areas, they must invest. I mean, the story is told that Bill Gates has more than 4 or 5. So that it tells you a story.
Wow. Where do people get the book?
The book is available on Exclusive Books. It's available on .com. It's available on my website, dumilebaka.com. It's a phenomenal book. It's a life-changing book. It's a book for those who have a hunger to grow and be better and live an impactful life. I believe that we need to make a change that can never be erased. And the way to do it is to thrive.
If you were to go back to high school, to young, to me, before the family lost it all, when things were still fine, what advice would you tell that young girl?
Always, always, always believe in yourself. Doubt the doubt. Really doubt it.
This one.
Doubt the doubt. Yeah.
Got it.
Thank you.
Got it. Sorry I cut you off. It was too good. You can continue. You tell young to me, always believe in yourself, doubt the doubt.
Yeah, and go for your dreams.
Did you know when you were young, though, that you were going to be this top CEO? Did you have an idea that I'm going to be big?
I've
Or you
always
just
been an
thought,
achiever.
I wish I could have some more money?
Well, when I was there, young me did not quantify it in being a CEO, but I knew I had a dream, and my dream was always to empower, always to transform. And I always found myself in spaces like that, like transforming the lives of Magogo, Libomkulu. That was transformation there. But my hunger kept taking me higher. So I've always known that I wanted to impact lives positively.
This is going to be so good. I know there'll be a lot of grateful people. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Do you have a word? Let's say a word for two people. You said you've been depressed, you've been discouraged, you've lost opportunities unfairly so. Do you have some encouragements for someone who's going through that right now?
Don't give up. Don't give up, because when you give up the dream. When you give up, you are literally burying it. But have that hope. However little it is, hang on to it. Grow it day by day. Find people in and around you who've gone through the same. If you can't find them, read about them, because that is the spark. I always say, if God can do it for them, He surely can do it for me. So if they could achieve, if they could overcome, surely you too can overcome.
Thank you so much, too.
Thank you.
Right, it's going to be fun editing this. Thank you for joining us till this time. I guess if you like it, find someone in your life that you just appreciate and you know they'll benefit from listening to the conversation. Share the video with them. We appreciate all that you've done to help us get this far. So see you on the next episode.